Reading from the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Book 1, Chapter 6, Text 113. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrī Parīkṣit uvāca, śrīmad-gopāla-devas touch, chrutvā sambhrānti-yantritaḥ, jātāntas-tāpataḥ, śuṣyan, mukhābjaḥ, saṅkayākulaḥ. Śrī Parīkṣit said, having heard all this, the blessed Lord Gopāla felt overwrought with worry for his devotees. Scorching anxiety dried up his lotus face. He was filled with dread. Om ajnana-timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya Chaksur unmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Sri Chaitanya manobhistam stapitam yena bhutale swayam rupa kadamayam dadati swapadantikam. Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhu bhayevacha Patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, greetings from the Super Soul Farm. Raghunath and Mara are in Italy. So I basically, except for one young man, who I hardly ever see, very nice, I have the whole house to myself. But on Saturday, Ishwari Sundari and Sri Rupa came up. That was yesterday. They came up and they brought lunch. And Patrick joined us. And then at 5:30, we had a program. And a little panihati, but they whipped up quite a feast. And so many people are away, but there were so many new people that came just because they have Krishna Kumari and Patrick have regular kirtan. So it was a lot of fun. And today I'm headed to Jai Shri Radhe's, where we'll have a little bit more elaborate panihati. But it was so nice speaking on that Raghunath Das Goswami Katha. And this Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, every time I read it, I just think of the third verse of the Bhagavatam. Bṛhad-bhāgavatam rasam alayam. That the Bhagavatam is filled with such rasa. Rasa means rasa means the deep feelings that one has for Krishna, and the reconstruction of those feelings in poetry and drama that make those who read it and sincere have those same sentiments. So this is very, very powerful stuff, and I see most of you have been with me since the beginning of this first book, so we have qualified to kind of really relish this, and it's just an incredibly, and I mentioned this many times, I'll repeat it again, an incredibly intricate and powerful woven plot to focus from many, many different angles on the goal of this first book, which is Parama Dasha, the whole of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Parama Dasha Antim. Dasha means the stage, the end stage, the top part of the end stage of devotion, which is the love of the residents of Vrindavan. Even more than that, the love of the gopis, and even that, the love of Srimati Radharani, which is perfectly reflected in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's heart, who came to taste the form and ecstatic love of himself. Radharani's love is what Krishna tastes like, what Krishna feels like. That's in Radharani's heart. So, began with Narada, and you're all familiar, finding Uddhava, who deflects the praise of being the topmost devotee, who points to the residents of Vrindavan. And then the question arises, they're suffering so much, is that an indication of, in separation from Krishna, is that an indication of Krishna's mercy or not? And then there's different opinions of that. But all those opinions are beyond duality because they're all pointing, whether they're suffering is out of love for Krishna. And then even from the Satyabhama and Devaki, they chime in their own experience with Krishna. Satyabhama may not like it. Rukmini may be more accepting, but they know where Krishna's heart is, and it's the residents of Vrindavan. So in that sense, one of the only questions to be left to answer, which is really hit home the theme of the book, is how Krishna not coming back is also indicative, in a very amazing way, is also indicative of their level of love. Now, here, another indication, having heard all this, and rather than go the verses, I'm just going to give a summary in different ways. Having heard all this, the blessed Lord said, śrīmad-gopāla-devas, chrutvā, having heard this, sambhrānti, concern, yantritaḥ, he's brought under the control of concern. And I love how Jayadvaita Maharaj translates that. What a masterful use of words. Because Sanskrit, you have to make the rhyme and things like that. And the metaphor. So it says, yantritaḥ, brought under control of concern. He wrote, overwrought with worry. Isn't it you become under the control of your concern. And then, tapataḥ, burning. And because of this burning, mukhābjaḥ, abja means lotus, the lotus-like face, śuṣyan, because of the burning heat of this, and Jayadvaita Maharaj, how does he translate that? So beautiful. Scorching anxiety. Because of the burning heat, then śuṣyan, his lotus face was drying up. What a beautiful metaphor. Actually, Jayadvaita Maharaj wasn't at the Rath Yatra this year, and I was in correspondence with him. He was invited to an academic conference of editors or something like that, textual scholarship, and he gave a presentation, 15 minutes, and he sent it to me, writing, describing how, the pressure of having to produce 17 volumes in 2 months, the history of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, where Prabhupada was so far ahead of the editors and the writers. And therefore, Akula disturbed by dread. So again, here's the heart of Krishna. And the heart of Krishna is very much in love with the devotees, to the extent when you're in love, then love means that another person's happiness and distress becomes yours. So, scorching anxiety dried up his lotus face, overwrought with the anxiety, controlled by his concern. And isn't Sanatana Goswami so expert at communicating, trying to communicate to us some frame of reference, what it means when you have the ultimate love and emotion in your heart that is manifest transcendentally in a spiritual drama. So just going back a little bit, that argument woke up Krishna, who already we found out was depressed in one sense, or couldn't get up. And then when he got up, he started to denigrate himself for the suffering. He said, how cruel I must be. My heart must be like a diamond. And he says, wait, this is important. What should I do? And before Uddhava says you should go back, Devaki, Padmavati, and others say just give them what they want. And then the discussion comes, and it's so complex, that Krishna says, well, what do they want? What do they want? Anyway, I lost track of that. But anyway, yeah. And then Uddhava, when he hears that, what do they want? Krishna asking, what do they want? Uddhava is he's just, what is Krishna going to say? And then he tells Krishna in a very humble way, they don't want anything but you. You remember you sent back those the gifts for them? And then Nanda just managed to keep them on a string of their life because they trusted him, and he said, no, he'll come back. And what happened then? I went. And they almost died when I came back with just a letter. They almost died. The residents of Vrindavan, it's just described, it's just too much. They almost died the first time. Nanda pacified them. Uddhava stayed there for 3 months, building places of Krishna's pastimes and speaking Krishna-katha, and pacified them. And now, and then when he sees Krishna's going to pen another letter, it's just too much, he says. And then there was some other dialogue that was, Krishna's listening to this. Because Padmavati says, no, what do they want? They just want Krishna for his child labor. And then Rohini says, no, he loves them more than their life. And not only Krishna, but the cows, not only the cows. And then she begins to describe Vrindavan and how it's the land of love for Krishna. Wow, I'm going to use the the wrong adjective, low-class adjective, because it's not so precise, but how far out? I hope you understand what I'm talking about. And when Krishna just hears that, and when Krishna just hears the devastation, having heard all this, then sambhrānti-yantritaḥ, concern, and then the scorching anxiety, the lotus of his face dries up, and he is filled with the greatest horror. So let's see where this goes. Pratham, everyone make sure their phone is muted, because I hear some sounds in the back and it affects my concentration. So make sure your phones are muted. Pratama parakalina vrajavritanti vedana mukham alokayam asa baladevasya sashrukam. He glanced at the face of Baladev, who knew all the tidings of Vraja, both past and present, and saw that it was covered with tears. So Baladev, who knew all the tidings of Vraja, and he saw he's crying. Purport: Baladev, Krishna's older brother, was a constant witness to Krishna's pastimes, first in Vrindavan and then in Mathura and Dwarka. Krishna trusted Baladev to be a sober judge of facts. So when Krishna saw the face of Baladev, his own anxiety increased. Rohini Nandano Bhratur Bhavam Buddhva Smaran Brajam Swadarya Rakshanasakta Parudan Abravit Sputam. Baladev, the son of Rohini, was unable to keep his composure, remembering Vraja and understanding his brother's mood, he began crying without control, and then he managed to speak distinctly. Sri Baladev uvāca, Gavan keva kata Krishna, te te pi babata priya, mega vihanga bandira, kadam bhadyas japadapa. Sri Baladev said, why speak only about the cows, dear Krishna? All the animals in Vraja are your beloved friends, and so also are the birds, and the trees like the bandira and the kadamba. The grass, the creepers, the lush bushes have all dedicated their lives to you. Now they are all wasting away, and so too are the rivers and mountains. Purport, in the agony of Vipralamba Bhava, the forest deers and the other wild animals in Vraja had all become emaciated, and so too had the birds like the peacocks, and even the inanimate rivers like the Jamuna and mountains like Govardhan. If these residents of Vraja were on the verge of death, then what to speak of the cows, bulls, and calves Lord Krishna used to herd? Manusya katichat prata paramte satyavakyata chata shayaiva jivanti nature shrotum ataparam. Some of the people, dear brothers, live only on the hope that your promises are true. Better you not ask to hear more news than this. Don't ask. Shrotam ataparam. More better than this. Na icha. Don't desire to hear better than this. Don't hear more of this. Because if you think I'm upset now, you think you'll be. Because they live only on the ashaya, that your hope, jata, your hope, which is born on satya vakyata, on the satya, the truth of your vakyata. Their hope is born on the truth of your vakyata, of your words. Don't ask more. This statement, purport, has a sober implication that many residents of Vraja, no longer able to tolerate a separation from Krishna, had already left their bodies. In their own sarupas, they had gone to join Krishna in his pastimes in Dwaraka or elsewhere. Others kept themselves alive in Vraja, sustaining themselves by remembering Krishna and transcendentally perceiving his eternal, unmanifest pastimes. More than once, Krishna had promised the Vrajvasis he'd return to them soon. Therefore, some of them continued to expect him, even after others had lost all hope. Lord Balaram asked Krishna not to inquire further into the news of Vraja. It would be too painful for the devotees present to hear. I can only tell you that if you don't show your kindness to them soon, Yamaraj will soon show them his. Again, in rasa theory, and it's not rasa theory, it's in human theory. Rasa theory means the perfection of how relationships should be to invoke the highest love. So the principles are also valid in human relationships, which are a reflection on that. So it's described that if you have a light in a dark room, it's very, very bright. But if you open the door, its power so much diminishes when the light comes in the room. So in the same way, when you have love, if it's covered indirectly, like you say something, I love you, But if you say I love you, but don't mention their name, but say I can't, but the person with the whatever it is. The person with the charming this that comes from the land of ever, and it's all. I think that the nature. It reminds me. I don't know, but when we grew up, there was a famous sociologist, Marshall McLuhan. He wrote the book "The Medium is the Message," and he described two types of mediums. It's not just the content, but what effect it has on your consciousness. So he described television as like a cold medium, because you don't have to do anything. It acts upon you. Where you have to, let's say, read a book, it's a hot medium, because it activates you more. What to speak of poetry. So when your consciousness has to be activated more in dealing with entertainment, the effect is much more powerful. So same thing in poetry. It's expressed in metaphor and indirectly, so that the emotion hits you more than if it just tells you directly. And that's why Rasa Shastra is generally in poetry. Something like this. It just hits you. It has a greater effect. So therefore, same thing with love. Real romantic people, they speak in rhymes and puzzles. That you rid Kaliya's lake of its poison has only greatened their misery. And please hear of still other reasons for their sorrow. So we read this last week, but you could never go over this again and not feel something new. Purport: the Brajvasis will consider quick death a merciful relief from their distress because of Krishna committing suicide merely by entering the poisonous water. Because of Krishna committing suicide merely by entering Kaliya's poisonous lake was no longer possible, and this made them feel all the more frustrated. Other means of escape from their misery are now also gone, as the next verse relates. In Vraja, the river Jamuna has turned so dry, she has hardly any water, so they can't drown themselves. And Govardhan, who when you held up touch heaven, has now become short, so you can't jump up. So the devotees who relish the nectar of your names cannot die of starvation. Instead, their end will come in a fire in a great dry forest. Parīkṣit said, having heard of this, Krishna, who is gentle by nature and tormented by the suffering of others, grasped Balaram by the neck and shed a flood of tears, like a person whose life is in ruin. As he cried with loud sobs in his beautiful voice, the tears washed away the cosmetics from his body. Dear mother, he and Balaram then rolled on the ground and for a moment lost consciousness. Seeing the two lords crying in this unprecedented, lamentable state, all the residents of the inner palace lost control of themselves. Rohini, Uddhava, Devaki, Rukmini, Satyabhama, and all the rest, they all lost control and sobbed again and again. When the Yadus heard the sound of distress, crying coming from the inner palace, a sound never heard before, they quickly came running, headed by Vasudeva and Ugrasena. The Brahmins arrived, led by Garga, along with all the people of the city. And when they saw their beloved master in this extraordinary state, as they never had before, they too began to cry, overwhelmed. So this sets up another incredibly beautiful thing. And I'll go over this again later, because I'm going to have to go, because we're going to go 3 hours to Jai Shri Radhe's for our Panihati festival, and then I'll come all the way back up here, and then I'll have my typical Monday morning where I can't do anything. So what's happening now, Krishna goes into this catatonic state. He's so deeply, as it mentioned, he feels for the pain of others. So he goes into this and then everyone becomes shocked and everyone's crying and there's loud wailing because there's so much emotion. Now, this is like love for Krishna. And it becomes an existential crisis. I joke, but it's true. If God dies, nothing exists. So Krishna is just in so much distress. So I've never read anything where every word, every line is just so filled with this focused bhakti ras theme of the residents of Vrindavan and their love. And Krishna's state is in relationship to them. And now coming attractions, what happens is the Brahma has to come and they hatch a plan to take Krishna to New Vrindavan. That's where Prabhupada got New Vrindavan from Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta to Nava Vrindavan, built by the architect Vishwakarma. Exact opposite replicate, and they dress Krishna up as a cowherd boy because he's like a king now. And they try to revive him, and people see he's in that state, and when he thinks he's in Vrindavan, and the love he has, and then the queens, they can't go there because they'll ruin the rue. They'll ruin what was happening there. But they see it behind the trees. And then when Krishna gets revived and realize Yudharmasla, I have to do my duty here. Comes back to the palace, and Satyabhama is upset by what she said. And then comes that point where Krishna tells Satyabhama, you want to know why I love the gopis? I'll tell you why I love the gopis. And then from Krishna's heart comes the whole resolution of this whole thing. From Krishna's heart, why he loves the gopis so much. And therefore why he can't go back is also explained. So it's just beautiful. Okay, Jamuna Jaya, are you there today?
Yes, Maharaj. I
Where is
have one more week down here in South America.
Where are you?
Now I'm in Uruguay.
Oh,
right next to Argentina, and then I will be in Argentina Wednesday through Friday, and then I'll be back home finally.
And I'll make my joke. When you go home, at least say hello to your husband before you go to the Bhakti Center.
Saturday. It'll be Saturday when I come home, and he said, well, you're going to go right to do your service on the altar, or are you going to come home first? I said,
be nice.
I said, I will come home.
Be nice to him, Drew. He's a great guy. Give him 5 minutes before you go off to you. Okay. What point
I really love this point about poetry, Maharaj, about how it's not just a hot medium, but you must put your intelligence and your heart into it to really understand it. So it really is the perfect medium for rasa. I love that point a lot.
It's like this. You watch television, it comes to you, so it has an impact. But literature and poetry, it's coming to you, but you have to come to them. So like the impact on the consciousness is much greater.
So wonderful.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Raj.
Gail, you have a quick time for one question.
Oh my God, Maharaj.
Yeah.
That's hard. But anyway, just in
reference you gonna be at the program?
Yeah.
Well, you can ask me the questions there.
All right, Maharaj. I think you're trying to get rid of me, but
no, I'm not trying to get rid of you. I also have another life here besides answering your 3,000 questions. But go ahead.
But in relation to that last point, about how you have to come to it, like in poetry, that works. It's the same. I had that realization about comedy too. Like the more kind of indirect it is, the funnier jokes are. If you have to think a little bit, just a little bit, then jokes are funny. But just one question, Maharaj. I'm
just you mentioning comedy. I'm just laughing, and I'm just filled with Rodney Dangerfield. They all came at once.
Yeah, Maharaj, you said that the gopis' level of devotion is basically illustrated by the fact that Krishna doesn't go back.
Yeah.
Can you just explain that?
I'm not explaining it because I'm not going to ruin the end of the story. That's like ruining the whole thing for someone. It's the great theater out thing, and you write a review and you tell the conclusion and you ruin it all for people. I'm not ruining it.
Okay, but so since you're not explaining that one, that mention of Jayadvaita's attendance to that academic conference, it just seemed so random to me. I couldn't see how it connected to anything. Do you remember?
I was talking about Jayadvaita Maharaj's editing, and I had some connection with that. I was talking about the words and how expert Jayadvaita Maharaj was editing it. And then I don't know. There was some connection besides the fact that I explained that he wasn't at the Rathayatra because he was at this editing conference. And maybe I'll share the paper here, but I'll have to ask him. It was brilliant. I mean, he sent me the paper he gave, with the theme of pressure and editing. It was great. Okay.
Nice. See you later.
Okay. A few more people say hello, and then I got to pack and run. Come on. Haribo.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj.
Hey, Kalachandri. Haribo.
Thank you for class. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
I will send you the paper, though, if you're
I'd love
interested.
to see it.
Okay, I'll send you. Yeah, Haribo. Well, great to see you there, and
thank you.
Looks very peaceful porch.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Haribo. Anybody else? Tota, Haribo. I heard you. Great.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, this is Hemalata Radha. Thank you so much for class, Maharaj.
Great. I love the steadies. People come every time. It's great. Okay. One or two more, and then I'll just look down the list and see everybody.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, it's Lal Govinda. Thank you for class.
Hare Krishna.
We'll see you there,
Looking forward to it. Yes.
I think you may be the main Madunga player.
Okay.
I don't know who else is coming.
All right. I'll do my best.
Grudge is coming, right?
Yeah. Yep.
We have a husband and wife team. Okay. Krishna-katha, Haribo. Krishna-katha, Haribo.
Hare Krishna, thank you greatly. Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much. Thank you greatly. Waiting for you.
Okay, I'm going to head out now because I have to go for the okay, Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha